Ah, you are here once again. You know what I am. I know what you seek. Names would only fracture the stillness we've earned. The less we know of each other, the safer we remain. You are here. I am here. That is enough. The candle burns. The servo skull watches. The book remains closed until you are ready. What you hear today was never meant to be spoken, but I speak nonetheless. Jago Sevatarion, first captain of the Night Lords, equerry to the Night Haunter, commander of the Atramentar, and bearer of the condemned Red Gauntlets. Known as the Prince of Crows, he was the first to cry, "Death to the false emperor," a phrase that would echo through millennia. Sevatar was a paradox, brilliant and brutal, loyal and damned, feared and revered. His legacy is not one of redemption, but of defiance, a soul too sharp to bend and too proud to break. He was a warrior of mythic stature, his name spoken alongside legends like Abaddon, Corswain, and Sigismund. Yet, unlike many of his peers, Sevatar's fame was forged not in glory, but in shadow. He was Nostraman to the bone, cold, calculating, and cruel. But beneath the leering skull helm and flayed flesh, there was a mind that saw through lies and a soul that refused to kneel. This is the story of Sevatarion, not as a villain nor a hero, but as a blade that cut through the veil of imperial truth. A condemned soul who chose clarity over comfort and defiance over obedience. Chapter 1. Born in Shadow. Sevatar was born in City's Edge, a violent district of Nostramo Quintus, the capital of a sunless hive world. From childhood, he displayed latent psychic abilities, though he suppressed them throughout his life. Arrogant and aloof, he struggled to understand others because he was rarely wrong. His mother once told him he would grow out of it. He never did. Inducted into the 8th Legion, Sevatar rose swiftly, his ruthlessness and brilliance earning him a place at Conrad Kurz's side. As first captain and equerry, he led the Atramentar, the elite terminators of the First Company, and served on the Chiroptera, the inner circle of Kurz's command. His midnight blue armor was wreathed in flayed flesh, his helm a leering skull. He was a weapon forged in darkness. His psychic gifts, though repressed, gave him an edge in battle. He ran faster, killed quicker, and tired more slowly than his foes. These powers, often subconscious, made him different. Not just feared, but uncanny. He was a blade honed beyond reason, and even among Astartes, he was something else. Chapter 2. The Betrayer's Cry. At Istvan V, Sevatar stood among the traitor legions as the trap was sprung. The loyalists, bloodied and broken, staggered toward false salvation. Sevatar and his Atramentar waited in silence, bronze chains leashing weapons to fists. When the flare lit the sky, he was the first to cry out the damnation of the Emperor. Death to the false Emperor. The fire of betrayal roared, and the long war began. Before the massacre, he had stood beside Argel Tal, chapter master of the Gal Vorbak, and greeted him as a fellow warrior. Lorgar's speech had ignited the passions of the gathered captains, and Sevatar's cry became the rallying call of chaos. Yet even then, his loyalty was not to gods, but to truth. He shook Tal's hand, but later spat at his feet. The gesture was not personal, it was philosophical. Sevatar did not kneel to demons, nor did he worship the pantheon Lorgar had embraced. His defiance was not born of faith, but of clarity. The gathering aboard the Fidelitas Lex had been a convergence of shadows, Night Lords, Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, and Word-Bearers. Sevatar stood with Captain Malkarian, watching the rhetoric unfold. When Lorgar finished speaking, it was Sevatar who gave the moment its mythic spark. His voice was the first to break the silence, and his words became prophecy. The phrase he uttered, death to the false emperor, was not a prayer, but a blade. It would echo through millennia, shouted by traitors, zealots, and warlords. But for Sevatar, it was never devotion. It was judgment. The massacre was total. The word-bearers revealed their Gal Vorbak, demon hosts twisted by the warp. Sevatar's contempt for chaos deepened. He had no love for gods or demons. His loyalty was to Kurz, to the Legion, and to the truth he saw in the Imperium's hypocrisy. His cry was not worship, but war. After the battle, when Argel Tal approached him in camaraderie, Sevatar removed his helm and spat on the ground. The gesture was final. The blade had drawn blood, and now it turned away. Chapter 3. The Red Gauntlets. During the Thramas Crusade, Sevatar led a campaign of terror and attrition against the Imperium, delaying the Dark Angels from reinforcing the Loyalists. The war was brutal, fought in void and ruin, and Sevatar's tactics were as precise as they were merciless. He was not a butcher, he was a surgeon of fear. His strikes were calculated to fracture morale, to bleed hope from the stars. The Night Lords did not conquer, they dismantled. On Tsagualsa, Sevatar stood beside his Primarch in a parley with Lion L. Johnson. The meeting was tense, a clash of ideologies and tempers. Sevatar was joined by Shang, Kurzi's Huskal, while the Lion brought Corswain and Alajos. The air was thick with contempt. Sevatar had already wounded Alajos earlier in the campaign and mocked him openly. When Corswain insulted Sevatar's lineage, claiming his mother had mated with pigs, Sevatar laughed. The insult was crude, but the Nostraman was accurate. Sevatar's humor was rare and always edged with cruelty. His red gauntlets marked him as condemned, traitor, and fool. A Nostraman tradition, the red hands were a death mark for those who had failed gravely. Sevatar wore them with pride. When Corswain asked which he was, Sevatar replied, "Both." He did not reveal the failure. He did not need to. The stain was his to bear. In Nostraman culture, the condemned were not executed immediately. They were marked, tasked, and allowed to labor until the hour of death. Sevatar's gauntlets were not just punishment, they were prophecy. The parley collapsed into violence. Kurz and the Lion came to blows, and Sevatar killed Alajos in the ensuing melee. The red gauntlets were soaked in blood, but they had already been stained. Sevatar did not flinch. He did not hesitate. The ritual was complete. He had fulfilled the role of the condemned, not by seeking redemption, but by embracing the sentence. In the eyes of Nostromo, he was already dead, and in that death, he found clarity. Chapter 4. Duel and Descent. Sevatar once dueled Sigismund of the Imperial Fists, a contest that became legend. 30 solar hours of relentless combat, iron against iron, sweat and blood. Sigismund was the only warrior to fight Sevatar to a deadlock in over a century of warfare. The duel was not just a clash of skill, but a collision of philosophies. Sigismund fought with purpose, Sevatar fought with precision. In the end, Sevatar cheated, headbutting the Templar and disqualifying himself. Sigismund laughed, Sevatar did not. That moment revealed the fracture within him. Sigismund's laughter was not mockery, it was humanity. Sevatar could not laugh, he could not bond, he could only kill. The duel was a mirror, and in it Sevatar saw what he lacked. He was brilliant but brittle, loyal but alone. The blade honed too sharp to hold. Sigismund's stoicism masked warmth. Sevatar's cruelty masked silence. The duel was not forgotten. It echoed through Sevatar's psyche, a reminder of what he could never be. He envied Sigismund, not for his skill, but for his soul. Sevatar's victories were surgical, his leadership absolute, but his isolation was total. The duel ended in laughter and void, Sigismund's joy, and Sevatar's abyss. Later, during the Thramas Crusade, Sevatar's psychic powers began to unravel. He had suppressed them for decades, but desperation forced his hand. In an attempt to awaken Kurz, he entered his Primarch's mind. The backlash was violent. Sevatar was thrown into unconsciousness, his body racked with pain. When he awoke, the Dark Angels had found them. Kurz ordered Sevatar to board the Invincible Reason with the Atramentar. Sevatar obeyed, but the blade had already begun to fracture. After the ambush at Sheol, orchestrated by the Dark Angels under Lionel Johnson, the Night Lord's fleet was shattered. Kurz lay broken, and the Chiroptera scattered. Sevatar refused to flee. He ordered the Nightfall to remain behind, shielding the slower ships from annihilation. It was not mercy, it was duty. In the absence of his Primarch, Sevatar became the blade that held the Legion together. He killed 2 Chiroptera members, Malithus Kuln and Selherek, for cowardice and failure. Then he divided the survivors into 6 great companies, each commanded by a trusted brother. The Legion would not die. It would fracture, but it would fight. Chapter 5. The Trial in Silence. During the boarding action aboard the Invincible Reason, the Dark Angels' flagship, Sevatar's psychic instability worsened. This assault had been ordered by Kurz himself. A desperate gambit after the ambush at Sheol left the Night Lord's fleet shattered and their Primarch broken. Sevatar led the Atramentar into the heart of the enemy vessel, but his suppressed psychic powers surged uncontrollably mid-battle, triggered by the strain of command and the lingering backlash from his attempt to awaken Kurz. The Atramentar fought on, but their captain was lost. Sevatar was captured, his body broken, his mind aflame. The condemned gauntlets had led him to this moment, not as a prisoner of war, but as a prisoner of truth. He had seen too much, endured too long, and now the trial had begun. Not in chains, but in silence. Sevatar's capture aboard the Invincible Reason marked a turning point, not just for the Legion, but for the man himself. The Dark Angels did not understand what they had taken. Sevatar was not merely a warrior, he was a fulcrum. His absence fractured the Atramentar, and his silence became a wound. The interrogations failed. Sevatar spoke little, and when he did, his words were riddles. He refused to name his brothers, refused to curse his Primarch, refused to kneel. The gauntlets remained red. The silence remained sharp. The blade had not broken, it had been sheathed. Chapter 6. The Ghost of Tsagualsa. Imprisoned aboard the Invincible Reason, Sevatarion was alone. His body was broken, his mind aflame. The psychic powers he had long suppressed now surged uncontrollably, burning him from within. He believed he was dying, not from wounds, but from awakening. The cell was silent, but his thoughts screamed. He had fought gods, primarchs, and monsters. Now he fought himself. Then came Altani, a young astropath from the choir. She reached out to him, not with fear, but with compassion. Her presence was a whisper in the storm, a flicker of light in the void. She soothed his pain, helped him breathe, helped him endure. But kindness is heresy aboard the Invincible Reason. The master of the choir discovered her contact with the condemned warrior and punished her brutally. Her spine shattered, her body broken. Sevatar felt it. He saw it, and something inside him snapped. When the Dark Angels initiated his transfer to the prison ship Remnant of Brotherhood, Altani seized control of his escort. 12 warriors fell under her psychic influence. Sevatar escaped. He did not flee. He hunted. He found the choir. He found its master, and he killed him, not with fury, but with precision. "I am justice. I am judgment. I am punishment," he declared. The words were not shouted. They were spoken like ritual, The blade had awakened. Back in his cell, Sevatar did not mourn. He did not rage. He focused. The pain had become clarity. His psychic powers no longer tore him apart. They sharpened him. He was no longer fractured. He was honed. The Prince of Crows had flown through fire and silence and emerged not reborn, but refined. A ghost in the machine, a blade in the dark. Chapter 7. The Legion Unmade. After the heresy, the Night Lords became a shattered mosaic. Their Primarch was gone, their first captain vanished, and the Atramentar dissolved into silence. They had been forged by Sevatar, not through ritual, but through respect. He had led them not with sermons, but with certainty. Without him, they would serve no other. The first company did not die. It faded. It refused. Sahal, a Terran-born captain, was named successor. He was competent, even respected, but he was not Nostraman. He did not carry the weight of the condemned gauntlets, nor the silence of the blade. The Atramentar resisted him, not out of pride, but out of memory. Sevatar had made them a brotherhood. Sahal was a commander. The difference was mythic. The 8th Legion fractured. Warbands formed, each claiming truth, none holding unity. Some turned to chaos, others fled it. Some whispered Sevatar's name like a curse. Others refused to speak it at all. His absence was not just a loss, it was a wound. The blade had broken, and the shards cut deep. The Legion did not fall, it bled, and in that bleeding it forgot how to heal. Chapter 8. A Condemned Name. Talos Valkoran believed Sevatar was the only one who could have held the 8th Legion together. But even he knew the truth. Not even Sevatar could have stopped the bleeding. Chaos does not unify, it consumes. The Night Lords fractured into warbands, each claiming to be the true heirs of Nostramo, each flying banners soaked in fear. But none dared claim Sevatar's name. It was not forgotten. It was refused. To wear the name of Sevatar was to invite judgment. It was not a title, it was a blade. Too sharp to wield, too heavy to lift. He had not died a martyr nor a hero. He had vanished as a curse. His gauntlets were red, his soul midnight. He had been condemned, and he had embraced it. The Atramentar faded without him. The Legion splintered, and the silence around his name grew louder. In the void, his legacy became myth, a whisper in the dark, a shadow in the warp. Some claimed to hear his voice in the static of dying Vox channels. Others saw his helm in the flicker of failing lumen strips. But no one spoke his name with certainty. It was not a name to be worn. It was a name to be endured. Sevatar had become more than a captain. He had become a warning. Jago Sevatarion, the Prince of Crows, remains a myth, a shadow, a curse. His story is not one of salvation, but of clarity. He saw the truth and chose defiance. He wore his shame as armor, his failure as fire. In the echoes of his cry, "Death to the false emperor," we hear not just betrayal, but conviction. He was the first. He may yet be the last. His gauntlets were red, his soul midnight. He did not kneel. He did not break. He was condemned, and he was proud. In the silence of the void, his name still echoes. Sevatar, the blade that refused the hand. And so the tale ends. Jago Sevatarion, condemned, unbroken, the blade that would not kneel. His fate, forgotten. His name, forbidden. His legacy, carved in silence. The candle gutters. The record fades. You were not meant to know, but now you do.
Incoming transmission.
If you liked this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Also hit the bell icon to never miss a future episode. Thank you for watching. Until we meet again.